Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Roguei Media. My name is Alex Schlerf, and today we're going to be doing a kind of more opinionated, shorter video. I don't have any really movies to review or any breaking news from Marvel to do or any shows, like anything like that. I don't really have any big video idea to do, so I thought, you know what? In March, a little bit after the chair's announcement for Avengers Doomsday, I did my prediction for what I thought would be the remainder of the Avengers Doomsday cast, and funny enough, we have really not learned of any more names since that video was made, besides some Ryan Reynolds Deadpool being confirmed, a couple of various smaller names here and there, and some rumors and stuff. But pretty much Ryan Reynolds Deadpool is the only name we've had confirmed from that list that I made back then. So I think that this is a good time to kind of regroup because Avengers Doomsday has been filming. It started in April, so it's been 4 months now, 4 to 5 months now they've been filming. We are expecting production to wrap in the next couple months, probably in October or November. Nobody knows that for sure. It could wrap tomorrow. I have no idea, but I'm recording this on September 1st, so it feels like a good time where like these next couple months will be the last couple months of filming. So the remainder of the cast, unless they film secretly to this point, are expected to be filming their bits in these next couple months, next couple weeks, next couple months. So for me, this felt like a good time to kind of analyze where we are at for Avengers Doomsday and if we were to potentially get a second casting announcement, whether it's from the trades or official from Marvel, because the context here is that obviously Marvel did that chairs announcement back in March where they announced what was it, 25, I think 25 to 30 names from the Avengers Doomsday cast confirmed. They did a live stream. It was the highest rated live stream in or the highest viewed live stream in Marvel history. It was a huge success for them. Got a built great hype for the movie. And it was all new names aside from Robert Downey Jr., which we obviously knew from Comic-Con the previous year. So anyway, that announcement happened, and one of the shocking things about the announcement was the names that were left out and the names that we didn't see listed from their little announcement, and names that we expected to be in this movie, or at least in a project coming up in the MCU, like Tom Holland Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, Brie Larson, like names like that, who like these are like these big tier Marvel characters, and we would expect them to be in this Avengers crossover event, even if there's another movie coming out and all that stuff, whatever. But not only was that just an assumption to make that there would be more cast members because it is a large scale Avengers movie, also Marvel and Robert Downey Jr. themselves teased there'd be more announcements and more cast members in the future. And the Hollywood Reporter, who is a very reliable source, said this is not even a source, this is a outlet who is literally just reporting what Marvel tells them, said that there will be 25 to 30 more names added on to the 25 to 30 that we got in March. So it was a reasonable assumption to assume not only would we get more, people in this cast, but also that they would do a second announcement because of how successful the first one was. There's a lot of fan favorites that were left over from the first announcement to the second. And I think the assumption that was made from people like me and people that kind of speculated online was that the people that were announced were the people that had officially signed their contracts are going to be ready for day one of filming. And the people that didn't were going to be on the back half of filming. I think that's something I also said when I made that video back in March. That video is like, please go watch that video still, because it's still the majority of the names on that list are still names that I think will be in this movie, and the announcement itself or the video itself is still relevant. It's still good. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. But when I made that video, I think I said these names that I'm predicting will most likely be on the back half of the shoot because the assumption is made that these characters that have signed on are the people that have signed, the people that have or in the announcement have signed on to the movie. And there was kind of a rumor slash speculation that those people that have been announced were the main characters, which are like the characters that are the focus, and anyone else is going to be more of a side character or a cameo. And again, I said this back then, but that was kind of something that I found harder to believe. Someone like Captain Marvel or Doctor Strange would not be a main character over like the Fox X-Men. Like that just didn't seem to add up for me. And we know very little about this movie still. We haven't got a lot of set leaks, if any. I don't think we've had any set leaks. We've had a couple of the sets we got videos of, no members, no fights, and no actual scenes of them filming. Because they mostly been filming at Pinewood Studios, and they filmed the Royal Hall that got completely blocked off. So, which is a good thing, by the way. I'm glad that we have not got any announcements, but I think the question remains, when will we be hearing more? The question remains, when will we be hearing more names? Who will those names be, and how will they be announced? And will Marvel be making another announcement? I think what we have to start with is, when do we think an announcement would take place? And I think the logical assumption is either It's hard to say. There's many different possibilities for when they could do a second announcement. And again, I'm not guaranteeing this will happen. I could very much see them just not doing a second announcement and having the outlets like Deadline and Variety just slowly announce the names as we get closer to the end of filming, or when it gets closer to like a first trailer coming out and stuff like that. Or maybe they don't do announcements at all and they save for the trailer. But let's operate on the assumption that they will make more announcements for this cast. The first option would be when they wrap filming. Is the second they wrap filming, they do like a set video or they do another live stream, whatever, like a now big announcement at a convention, whatever. That would be the first assumption, and that is obviously a very likely thing. The thing is though, is that when they wrap filming, assuming in the next couple months, it'll still be over a year out from the movies. Like maybe they don't want to kind of put all the chips in now and try to get this massive hype building for a movie that already has a lot of hype, and they don't want people to be like, oh, I'm hyped, but it doesn't come out for another year. Like that kind of sucks, stuff like that. The second kind of logical thing would be to release it or do an announcement, video, live stream, whatever, a year out from the movie comes out. I believe it is December 18th. I obviously should have done my research. I'm just going to look it up real quick. Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, December 18th. So that would be, December 18th, 2026 when it's coming out. So maybe they do something a year out just to kind of, mark that occasion and do a couple announcements there as well. That's another possibility. Other possibilities are less likely than those two, but I would say the Super Bowl kind of time is always a big hot spot for them. Obviously, that wouldn't be the best spot for them to do like a big announcement, I don't think, or at least like a cast announcement. That's more saved for trailers. And at that point, I'm sure we'll be getting a Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer. So like that'll probably be what their focus is. And maybe the stuff for Vision Quest and X-Men 97 season 2 and Friendly Neighborhood Starter season 2, stuff like that. So I don't know if that would be the best spot, but around that time is usually when they release their trailers. Fantastic Four's trailer came out a week before the Super Bowl last year, or maybe the week of the Super Bowl, but not the actual Super Bowl. So like they do love making announcements and trailers and stuff like that in that time frame. That's another time frame to look at. The only other thing that we can look at besides from that is, besides from like a first trailer, is San Diego Comic-Con in 2026, and which is in late July if you don't know, and the movie's coming out not too long after that. But that's obviously when they skipped San Diego Comic-Con this year, but that's obviously when Marvel did their huge announcement last year, is at San Diego or 2 years ago at San Diego Comic-Con. Announced Doomsday, the Russo's coming back, Secret Wars, Robert Downey Jr. coming as Doom. They announced all that at that event. So I think that is kind of the last where I could see a scenario where because I don't think the Doomsday like trailer or first teaser, although they do wait a while for these Avengers movies, I don't think they would wait until then, like debuting the trailer at Comic-Con. I'm not saying that's a complete no chance, but I feel like I have a weird feeling they're gonna release that before then. So in that scenario, I would assume that the first teaser is, and this is what the Russos have done, not really for Infinity War, but very much for Endgame, and they'll probably do it for this too, is where the first teaser does not give away a lot, and maybe it would be focused a lot on Doom himself, not a lot on like the characters. We just see shots of characters that we know from the shares announcement that are in the movie, and they do that, and then once it gets around to Comic-Con, they haven't shown any characters that we don't have confirmed already. And at Comic-Con, they bring out, people from that's the second batch of the cast, again, like a Benedict Cumberbatch, a Tiana Paris, a Mon Villani, a Haley Steinfeld. I don't know. A second batch of cast members that could do it at Comic-Con and already have that hype building from the first teaser, but saving it as long as they can. That is an option that obviously is not ideal because we don't want to have to wait that long, but it is an option because obviously they didn't go to Comic-Con this year, so I'm assuming this next year's Comic-Con they want to be very big and they want to make a lot of big announcements and bring people in and just go big for this year's Comic-Con or next year's Comic-Con. And the big event will obviously be Doomsday because that will be their next movie. I mean, Spider-Man Brand New Day also, but I don't think they'll talk about that because that's a Sony property. I think that'll be that at CinemaCon. That's Sony's event, right? Whatever Sony's event is, that'll be for Spider-Man Brand New Day and Beyond the Spider-Verse. But anyway, those are kind of the options, and I think for me, I'm having trouble trying to think of what the most likely out of those options are because the kind of problem with this is that we don't know a lot about this movie. We know the comic that it's based off. We know that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom, and we know that from the Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four post-credit scenes, like those have given us some crumbs to really kind of put a skeleton together of what maybe this movie will be, and also from rumors we hear from guys like Alex Perez and Daniel RPK. we've heard stuff that can kind of put together a general timeline of what we think might happen to this movie. And obviously, the way the comic book ends and leads into the Secret Wars movie is very iconic, and we're sure they're going to adapt that. I'm not going to mention what that's going to be because I don't want to spoil things for people who don't want to be spoiled. But my point is that we have a couple things we can't put together a great idea of what this movie is going to be, and I think that is where I'm having a challenge because the question becomes, is that rumor about the 25 to 30 more cast members being announced, that the Hollywood Reporter said after the Chairs announcement, is that true? And is that still happening? And is there really going to be 30 more cast members in this? Because if there is, then there's going to be a lot of names that we expect and a lot of like whatever. But if that is true, then here's the thing. If that is true, and if there is 25 to 30 more names to be announced, I would be shocked if we did not get another second announcement because they have too much to gain from doing that. They do this. I mean, I don't know if it would ever be as popular as the first one because that was like an unknown thing and all that. But I think if you do a second announcement and there's so many fan favorite characters in there and with the hype of this movie and maybe after it wraps filming, like that could generate so much more hype for this movie and make it become potentially in the future, the highest grossing movie of all time. Like that is the bar with Avatar and both Avatar movies and Endgame and Infinity War and stuff like that. They want this movie to be as big as that, not only with scale and the story, but also at the box office. So I think that they would really benefit from doing a second announcement if there is. That's a big if though, if there is that many names. I don't know if it's gonna be true because at this point we've had we think that in the next couple months we're going to wrap filming and maybe even the next couple weeks. With that being the case, is it realistic to expect that there's going to be 25 more people that are going to film their bits in these next couple weeks, especially with the fact that we might be assuming that those people that were in the first announcement, Anthony Mackie, all those guys, that they've wrapped filming. Maybe that there's somewhat of an assumption being made that they may have wrapped filming already. Maybe that's not true. Maybe they're filming all the way through. Maybe they're just taking a break right now. But a lot of those people, there are signs based on their drivers and their makeup artists that they have started wrap filming or they have wrapped filming. Those people specifically, I mean. So, and we know that like Robert Downey Jr. He'll be throughout the whole thing, obviously, because he's the main character of this whole thing. But that puts into question if like it's just a very confusing thing because that would if you hear that most of that side of the most of that batch of people that has been announced to this point has wrapped filming, that would make you think, well, you know, Robert Downey Jr. is not just going to film by himself for a month. Like, who is going to be filming with him? Then that must mean that there must be more people. Like, that's a fun assumption. I hope that is the case, but it's just the question remains is like there is such a short amount of time, and it'd be weird if there's certain members that we think are going to be in this movie that haven't been announced yet. It's just weird that those people would be filming. It's just a weird batch of people to put together, and the fact that they wouldn't have been filming with the previous people. Like, there's members that we think might be part of Sam's Avengers team that like have not filmed until now. So if Anthony Mackie is wrapped, how would Brie Larson just join now? And she's part of the Avengers, but why would she not film with Anthony Mackie? Like there's a lot of questions to be asked and a lot of questions to be answered, and to the point where like maybe it feels more realistic that there is not going to be a huge additional amount of cast members to this movie. There'll be some, but there won't be this huge 25 to 30 name announcement or 25 to 30 people that are going to be filming this movie. I don't like thinking that way, and I really want to think the opposite way. And I think at the end of the day, I do believe that there will be 25 or 30 more people in this movie. Like, I do believe there'll be a ton of more cast members in this because I think that there's a lot of people on that list I would have in my head of 25 or 30 people, the list that I made back in March, that I just can't explain why they'd not be in this movie. Like, I just feel like it would be a ridiculous narrative choice if someone like Captain Marvel is in this movie. And it just goes down the line because it's like, all right, we know this is going to be a real quick tangent. We know that they're following up on the Marvel's post-credit scene because Kelsey Grammer Beast is in this movie, and we are expecting that timeline we follow with all those old X-Men is that same timeline where we saw Beast at the end of the Marvels. So like if they're doing that, then Tiana Paris, who plays Maria Rambeau or Monica Rambeau, literally has to be in this movie because they're following up on that storyline. She's in their timeline, and that caused an incursion, all that like that has to be part of the movie. That has to be part of the movie. They're doing that, so cool. That has to be assumed. Then if Monica Rambeau is in this movie, then there's obviously has to be an assumption that Brie Larson's Captain Marvel is in the movie as well, because like the whole ending of the Marvels with that they're going to go find Monica, her and Kamala Khan, and then again, Mon Vellani's Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, like that means that she has to be in the movie. And then if she's in the movie, the last time we saw her was her recruiting young heroes, Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld's Kate Bishop, and Catherine Newton's Cassie Lang. Like it goes down the line where like unless you just leave them all out and just somehow make this huge narrative reason for them all being left out, and maybe they return in the next Avengers movie or like past once Secret Wars is over, it just feels weird that they leave some of these members out. Like Captain Marvel is one of those where like I just do not see why she'd not be in this movie. Like, if you're telling me that she's not in this movie, it does not make any sense to me. Like, you have not only is it one of the most powerful heroes and one of the characters that has connections to all the Avengers members, and like that she should be if there's a threat, the Avengers are going to call her up. Like, that's what it is. But not only is it that, but you are choosing to follow up on like if Beast wasn't in this would be a completely different story because I'd be like, oh well, that movie wasn't received, the Marvels wasn't received well, and it's start one two of them are TV show characters, Monica and Kamala. Um, like it would be a natural assumption to be if they weren't following up on that with Beast that like, oh, they're not gonna include them in this thing because like that movie flopped, all that, whatever. But with the knowledge that they are following up on that, it doesn't make any sense for like those three characters specifically not be in it. And again, if those three characters are in it, then specifically with this Marvel, that branches out to a couple other characters, and then those characters bring in other characters. Like, if Kate is involved, would you think Clinton would be involved too? Like it just seems like too many things to get around. And I'm not even mentioning like the Doctor Strange side of things, the Spider-Man side of things, or Clea with Doctor Strange, or Ironheart, Mephisto, like all these characters, like I know they can't include everybody. I know that. It's just too much to do in one movie, and there's going to have to ignore some people. But there's a lot of characters that have serious ties to this main storyline that it would be really odd and off-putting if they left them out of this movie. That's my opinion. Let me know in the comments if you agree the same way, if you agree with me or not. But that's how I feel when it comes with this movie and making a second batch of announcements because there's so many characters that they've left out of that first announcement that seem so integral to this movie's plot. And I just don't, I would not be able to understand if we got to a point where they're being left out of this conflict. Like, I would not, maybe I'd watch the movie and it'd be absolute cinema and it'd be amazing and it'd be the greatest Marvel movie ever. Like, cool. Like that is totally a possibility. I'm not leaving that out. Listen, the Russo brothers have gone 4 for 4 for me. I'm not as high on Winter Soldier as everyone else is, but Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, those are all my top five Marvel movies. Like or top six, I think. Like those are Endgame and Infinity War, like my literal before Fantastic Four came out, those were my literal one and two of Marvel movies. So like I trust them. They're going to do this story right. I have cautious optimism they're going to do this story right because they have not missed so far. I have no reason to misplace faith in them. My only problem and my concerns with this movie are if these characters, like the ones I've been mentioning so far, are left out, it's just gonna feel weird to me. And again, I'm saying that with this movie literally being over a year out. I don't know how I'm gonna feel on December 18th to where I feel right now on September 1st, 2025. I don't know how I'm gonna feel now compared to December 18th, 2026. Like I don't know what the difference will be, but looking at the cast list now and trying to figure out how they'd explain some of these people being left out, I can't think of a good reason why. So that's why I'm saying a second batch of announcements, or at least a second batch of announcements, at least like confirming through Deadline and Variety and Hollywood Reporter through the trades, like at least confirming them that way. I even mentioned something like She-Hulk, like Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. I could go on for days about this. And again, watch my video that I made in March about that because again, I go through all the characters, why they should be in this movie, what makes them likely. I did them in tiers, like that. Look at that because that is my that's kind of my that's kind of what I would go on tangents if I didn't make that video because I made that video and I talked about this a lot already. But I think that whether it's a big announcement from Marvel themselves or it's from these trades, I just find it very hard to believe that between now and the next couple months, we don't hear of anyone else that's in this movie. The Ryan Reynolds Deadpool thing kind of came out of nowhere, and I don't know, that probably meant that he was filming his scenes and Marvel just said, you know what, he's filming, it might leak. Let's just get it out there. He's in the movie. That's it. Like no Hugh Jackman, no whatever. They didn't say no Hugh Jackman. I'm just saying they didn't announce anyone else. But I think that was kind of an oddball where it was like we hadn't heard anything about the movie for a long time, and then that was an official confirmed casting. So that was kind of weird. But I just think something like that, where we get, a couple names a week, maybe in the next couple weeks, or maybe once filming ends and once like the first teaser gets closer, I just really, 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 really find it hard to believe that we don't hear of more names that are in this movie. And maybe it's not 30 names, maybe it's 10. And then I'll hop back on this camera and I'll explain to you more how I think that's ridiculous that we are getting some people left out of this movie, like all that, whatever. But I just think that no matter what, we are going to get a follow up to that first announcement because Marvel has too much to gain from that. No, they don't owe us anything. Like, I understand that. Trust me, I understand that. Marvel does not owe us to tell us every single detail about a movie a year before it's out, like over a year before it's out. I understand that. They don't owe us a second cast announcement. They don't need to do a second cast announcement. I understand that. But I think the idea of the first one was so good and it was so successful for them that it's just there's no reason for them not to do that again. I mean, I'm sure there is a reason if they don't do it, but like to me, there is no, I can't think of a reason why they wouldn't just do that again because it will do so much for them and it does so well and it did so well for them in the past. I think it would do so well again, especially with like Spider-Man. Like, people will be sitting there waiting for Tom Holland and people will be waiting there for Ben Cumberbatch and all their favorite characters that didn't get announced yet. Like, people will be waiting for that. And there's bound to be people that be characters that are left off. From this list, from this second batch of announcements, there's bound to be people that are angry about that, but there's also going to be equal amount of people that are over the moon because their favorite character, who they've been waiting to be confirmed for 5 months since that last announcement came out. And I'm one of those people who, listen, I've gotten fed up by a lot of this cast. I love the Fantastic Four. People know me. The Fantastic Four are my favorite characters. I'm pointing up here because I have posters right above my camera. But I love the Fantastic Four, and those are my favorite characters. And there's a lot of other characters like Yelena, like now Deadpool we're hearing, like Thor, like all these characters and Namor. There's a lot of characters that have been confirmed this, and I've been fed by that because there are a lot of characters that I love. Doctor Doom being the main villain and it being based off my favorite comic run of all time. Great, but I still think there's a lot of names that I would be really disappointed if they left off this movie. Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang, um, who I have my list in front of me. Um, what's the deal here? Sam Jackson, Xochitl Gomez, Hugh Jackman, Tessa Thompson, Elizabeth Olsen. Like, there's these names that like I'd be really disappointed if they're left out of this movie. And some of those are more likely than others, and some of those are more ones that I want more than others, but I'm just saying that trying to get to point here is that I think that number one, I think it'd be disappointing if some of these characters are not announced, whether it's in a cast announcement or from the trades. And also, I just find it very hard to believe that they will not be in this announcement. Like, I find them very hard to believe they will not be in this movie, and they will not be announced before the first teaser or before the movie comes out. I find that very hard to believe. So that's really what this is getting to, is that I think that if you were to I can't give a definitive answer because I just don't know. We know so little, but if you were to put a gun to my head and ask me like what I think they will do, I think I think no second announcement, like big announcement from Marvel, but I think in the next couple months we will get sprinkles of announcements from trades of who is getting confirmed, or the next couple names to be in this movie. And again, I'm gonna have to go on the higher number side of things because I just don't. There's so many of these guys. I just don't see how they're only going to have 10 to 15 more cast members. Like, I think it'll be on the higher end, and that's my guess. And again, I know that seems kind of contradictory to what I've been saying this whole video about how they have too much to gain from a second announcement, but I can't really, in good faith, make a prediction on that because the last one itself was so unpredictable. It came out of nowhere. I have no idea when or where or if they have any plans to do the second announcement. But what I do know, what we know for sure, is that this movie, there's a lot of characters that are not confirmed in this movie that I just am like 99% sure will be in this movie. And with that said, I know that they will have to be confirmed at some point soon because the movie's about to wrap filming. There might be set leaks. They want to still generate hype for the movie, like all that. So with that said, I just find it hard to believe that we won't get 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 cast members for this movie, before the end of the year, or maybe it'll be early next year, but still, before we get that first teaser, whenever that is, whether it's April, May, June, July, which I think those are that's kind of the range for us, unless we get like a short teaser at the Super Bowl, which I think Endgame had that, but the thing with Endgame, no, Endgame came out in March though, so it's not really comparable. No, May, I mean. I think Endgame came out in May. Yeah, Endgame came out in May, so it's not really comparable. But like, if we get like a small teaser at the Super Bowl, but aside from that, we won't be getting our first trailer until summer, early summer of next year. So like, between now, which is September 1st, and then I think they have to do something. Like not just a photo from the Russo brothers on the day filming wraps. That's like not enough. That's not enough to generate hype. We're gonna need something else to get us from here to there. Like I just think that's something they're gonna need to do in it. I'm not saying like if they didn't do that, the movie would flop or there wouldn't be any hype, whatever. I'm just saying I think there would be a huge increase in hype and continue the hype and continue people talking about it. People like me talking about this movie from now to then, if they did either a second batch of announcements themselves or from the trades or from the Russo brothers, like whatever. So that's kind of my opinion on all that. And I think that this is something that either I'm going to be able to talk about very soon if there's some breaking news announcement or there's some cast announcement again or there's trades, whatever. Either that or it's going to be a long time where we're still just saying will it be a second cast announcement. But I thought it would be a good time to do this video now because there's rumors about filming wrapping up sooner than like November, and there's rumors that that first batch of cast members has wrapped filming, so there's more people coming onto the set. I thought it'd be a good time, on literally the 1st of September to kind of get it here and kind of do an update and say what I think is going to happen. And again, my verdict is that I believe there will be more announcements that come in very soon, but I don't think it'll be a live stream shares, 5 hour live stream, stuff like that. I don't know, but I can't predict that. But I would not be surprised if that happens. And guess what? I would not be surprised if none of this I just said happens. I would not be surprised if we get to February and there's nothing. We've heard nothing besides from the fact that filming wrapped on November 1st. Like, I would not be surprised if that happens, but I do think that it is more likely that we get more announcements. I do think that's more likely. Again, I'm sure I'll be talking a lot about this movie more and more in the next coming months, and then obviously in the next year, because a year from today, the movie will still be what, 3 months away. Like that is crazy. A year from now, we will still be sitting here talking about probably the first trailer, and the movie will still be a ways away. So like there will be a lot of time for me to discuss this movie and how it connects to the other projects that come out between now and then. And, once we get brand new day stuff, and I'm sure not only on here, but on Twitter, I'm always tweeting about Doomsday rumors and stuff like that. So if you want to follow on there in the description, check it out. But yeah, I'm very excited for this movie still, announcement or no announcement. But if we hear that the cast that we've heard already is kind of the main cast, and that's pretty much all we're going to see in this movie, I will have concerns, and I will detail those concerns at more length if we hear that. I don't want to speculate for right now, unless I get bored one day and make another video like this. But I would be concerned. But right now, I have no reason to be concerned because again, it's the Russo brothers, it's Robert Downey Jr., it's the Avengers, it's a great comic storyline. The cast that we have heard so far is great, like all that. So anyway, I guess this video was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. But anyway, I just want to hop on here real quick and just record a video and just give kind of my opinion on that. And if we will get a second announcement for Avengers Doomsday. Again, if anything comes out, breaking news from Marvel or the trades or anything like that, I will do my very best to hop on here and do an emergency episode or, whatever, do an article, tweet. I'm always going to tweet about stuff, but do an article or an emergency video about whatever casting news we hear, similar to the one I did last week, or maybe might have been 2 weeks ago now about Florence Pugh and Tramel Tillman with Spider-Man Brand New Day. It'll be a video just like that where I'll hop on here for longer than a shorter episode and or shorter than a normal episode and kind of talk about it. So I hope, listen, today's Monday. I would love to be back here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday talking about a new casting for Avengers Doomsday or Spider-Man Brand New Day or Vision Quest news or Marvel Zombies news. I don't know, anything like that. I'd love to hop in here and talk about that. The waiting sucks. We will get there, I promise. And, I really hope that everybody's favorite characters get into this movie because I love seeing these new characters and these great characters interact on screen in a big crossover event. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm probably gonna put in the description of this video as well if you don't want to scroll. If you don't want to like scroll back to my channel, but I'm probably gonna put the video from March where I talked about the chairs announcement and who I thought would fill out the remainder of the cast. I'll put that in the description for anyone who wants to see it. I think it's a good video. Tell me for yourselves. Yeah. If you have any opinions on this, leave them in the comments below. I always respond to comments as quick as I can. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you hopefully soon with breaking news, but if not, end of the week for a new weekly video. So yeah, see ya.